My name is David Brown, David W. Brown. Currently, I am the diversity advisor to the Office of the Dean of Klein College of Media and Communications at Temple University, hence the hat. I'm also an associate professor of instruction there, where I teach advertising and public relations. I was in INROADS. Oh my goodness. I started when I was 19, so I'm trying to get my dates together. So that would have been like 1978. And I was the first person to work for an advertising agency as part of the INROADS Philadelphia experience. That agency that I worked for, I eventually was hired after I graduated from Duquesne University back in '84, and have been connected with INROADS off and on ever since. I was a student in high school, a magnet school called Central High School here in Philly. There were, I think it might have been a career fair or something where, and some of my friends had participated in this program called INROADS. I heard about it. I heard that, and I was in high school. I was the editor of our news editor of our school newspaper. So I wanted to find career in writing. Didn't know about public relations as a profession, but when I got into INROADS, and a lot of my friends were participating in INROADS, so I interviewed with INROADS and I got selected for what they was calling then the talent pool. I got in the talent pool, found that they had this, one of the great agencies in Philadelphia. It no longer exists. It was called Spiro and Associates. The chairman of that organization, Walter Spiro, was connected to the board here in Philadelphia. So they were making available an internship. And the way it works, you work during the summer. In addition to having the summer internship, you also had the classes on making sure you had not only the soft skills but also academic skills. And we had things throughout the course of the year. And I came back every year, even though I went to school at Duquesne. Philadelphia is my home, so to be able to come back every summer. So my sophomore year, junior year, and then in my senior year, they extended an offer before I graduated, and was plugged in ever since. I didn't realize it at the time, but they were really preparing us for working in a white-dominated environments. They were very the ones I remember, things like business etiquette and networking, the value of networking, which I don't even think they called it networking at the time. I was always a good student, so I don't remember ever having to avail myself of things like tutoring and things of that nature. But one thing that was I do remember very much was that all of the people who were in the cohort were all experiencing the same things at the same time, and when we would have come together. Again, looking back on it, I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. It became a very safe place, a place of really very therapeutic, that we were able to talk and about our experiences, thinking that we may be the only ones going through this, but it turns out that we were all going through things that were similar. And I think that it helped us to develop those relationships in those settings, but also the same kind of relationships in the settings where we were working. Where was it going to be safe? How could we show up for the work that we were doing, and also recognizing that we were, part of, I think that the whole cohort model was very, very important because it enabled us to form those types of relationships, friendships, and networking eventually that we would not have had otherwise. So even the process of getting in the talent pool was like, these were people from all over the city who were trying to get the same kinds of things that we were trying to get. And so we had to compete against them. And then as we got in, then we're trying to be competitive in the organization, in the places where we're working. It really helped to, at least for me, develop, because I've always been a competitive person, but also helped me to develop how I needed to strengthen myself to be competitive, not only on this level, but every level that I would encounter going forward. Yep. As a matter of fact, one story that since we only had one advertising agency, there was another young lady who we went to high school. Actually, my high school was all boys at the time. Hers was all girls at the time. So we had this kind of brother-sister relationship. But we knew that we were the only two people going after this one job. I happened to get it. And to this day, she says, well, that's the guy that stole my internship from INROADS. I mean, she's an accomplished human resources professional. She's great. And we've been fast friends ever since. But yeah, I mean, and there were some folks who went to Duquesne with me once I graduated. So we kind of kept that going. The executive director for INROADS Philadelphia, Pat Coulter, I stay connected with, even though she moved to California. So yeah, so these are all, and now in the age of LinkedIn, we're now reaching out to other people and seeing where other people are and were. And so, yeah, I still maintain, as a matter of fact, when we had I think it was the National INROADS Alumni Association Conference, which was like probably 25 years. I don't know how long ago it was, but even then, I still have connections with people from around the country who were in INROADS. I think the thing that stands out for me the most was the decision that I made when I got an offer to go to work for Spiro upon graduation, because they knew me, I knew them, but I had other offers. And I was like, there was a certain sense of loyalty, I guess, that I had to Spiro, because I felt like they took a chance on me and I needed to return the favor to really dive in there. And I stayed at Spiro for a good 5 or 6 years. But it was a great trajectory from there, so I do remember, and it's interesting too, because I know that INROADS never would, kind of openly say that, you need to stay where you are, because that would be kind of like, kind of handcuffing you a little bit. But here it was like, I knew the people, I knew the work, I knew the caliber of the firm, wanted to be back in Philadelphia. They knew me. So it was all those things kind of came together. I eventually outgrew Spiro, and that's okay. Spiro got acquired and everything else, and that's fine. But I think that one thing it did teach me was about this notion of loyalty, but also holding an organization accountable. This is, the 60-year-old me talking as opposed to the 22-year-old me talking of, being able to have this dual or reciprocal loyalty is what I would, it's like, I will do everything I can for the organization as the organization does everything it can do to invest in me. So that has become like a mantra that's enabled me to determine, is this the right place for me for now, or should I be looking to have a different impact somewhere else? Okay, so one of the things that I can think about is that I was one of the folks who originally founded the Alumni Association. That was kind of one of the things that I had done. Again, being able to kind of build from that to go forward. But that also prompted me in Philadelphia to start many organizations. So I started the Urban League Young Professionals, which was modeled after the INROADS cohort model to help connect people with CEOs and things of that nature. And I think that has always kind of motivated me to be an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur starting and running my own businesses or businesses by other people for 40 years now. So it has really kind of prompted, those skills and that, that ability. And those skills have taken me just about everywhere. And again, it's one of those things too, to recognize that I think that the biggest lesson though, was that in all the things that I've been doing, I've still been working in predominantly white environments. And it has helped me to not only navigate those things, but also to recognize that I have an incredible advantage of duality, that I can be in all Black organizations and environments, as well as all white organizations and environments, and still maintain my own identity and authenticity within those spaces. INROADS helped me to understand the value of that and how to really use that as a superpower. Yeah, so I guess as we were starting to graduate out of high college and then graduate into various organizations throughout the country, I don't know who had the idea, but it says we need to start an alumni association. And I remember the planning for it. I remember we didn't have Zoom. I can't even remember how we did it. But we were like in all different parts of the country. We had an alumni a conference, which is probably part of the INROADS conference, but it was just so great because the other model that we had when we were undergrads carried over into the same kind of therapeutic safe settings that we were finding as, young professionals in the field, where we could talk about challenges that we were having and things of that nature. And also, I think, and I'm not sure it ever kind of came to that point, but we realized and recognized that we still needed the kind of support that an organization like INROADS could provide. Even though it was focusing on undergrads, we were also connecting with those undergrads as people who had been through the process and are moving forward, and hopefully being able to bring some of those folks along, as well as use alumni to open up new opportunities for corporate internships and so forth. So it was really a very, very smart model. I got away from it because I don't even remember how or when, probably just life. To this day, I am connected with some of our mentors. As a matter of fact, when I started at Spiro, my first boss is a guy named Steve Albertini, who I guess the older you get, the closer in age you are. Because when he became my boss, I thought he was much older, and he's not really. He was like maybe about 8 or 9 years older. But we developed such a friendship that I sung at his wedding. He just retired about a few months ago. We have coffee on a regular basis. We have shared clients together. So that relationship is still, so this is a relationship that we've known each other now for almost 40 years. And I don't think he knows that he was an INROADS quote unquote mentor, because I didn't meet him until after I was hired as a full time. But clearly that was a result of the relationship, because he was assigned to me. This is going to be the guy you're going to be. And again, didn't know it at the time, the value of mentorship. I learned how to be a mentor through the work that he did with me. So now I mentor a whole lot of other people because I have been mentors. Again, being able to move forward by always reaching back. It would be so helpful, because the need remains so great that a lot of kids, and I know that when it was formed, we were, viewed as talented minorities, which is, probably not politically correct to say now, but we are still underrepresented in so many different industries, that the kind of skills and the kind of exposure, the kind of network, the kind of everything that an INROADS enables the access that helps to make for a longer term success for these individuals. So, and I don't know of another program that exists like that, quite honestly, the kind of comprehensive nature that INROADS was. I mean, we were really nurtured and in a very real and authentic way. And nothing was sugarcoated for us, like that this is going to be easy or anything like that. And I think that the notion of a talent pool and being able to develop where that competitive nature enables the top performers to rise to the top, which is great. Some years ago, I had been contacted by the leadership of INROADS here, and I was trying to plug them in, because I think, I'm not sure if I was at Temple yet, because this is going back a little ways, but for whatever reason, and I tend to be a very visible person in Philadelphia. I'm in a lot of different circles, and so I'm not hard to find. And I think it's incredibly important to give back, not just monetarily, but in terms of network and other resources, because as a professor and the work that I do at Temple in the diversity, equity, inclusion space, I tend to actively seek out students who are in underrepresented groups, because I understand I've been there. And if I had a resource like an INROADS, I could reach out even earlier, because this would be something that connects on a high school level, that by the time they get to me, there's a network that's already in place. There have been some organizations here in Philadelphia that do some of what INROADS does, but not all of what INROADS does or did in the past. So I think it's incredibly important to give back. And I've got, thankfully, great relationships with my mother and father. I mean, they've been all in my life forever. But, Pat was like a mother to all of us. It was really, if she says, jump, we'd figure out how high. Even when she left INROADS and went into other things, I stayed connected, and still to this day consider, when she texted me about the INROADS Heritage Center, I had to pull over and because I was like, okay, it's like flashing a bat signal. What do you need me to do? And so that's there. But also there's still people who are part of the inroad staff that I have seen. There's one who works at Temple, as a matter of fact, and we connect all the time. There's folks I've seen on LinkedIn and social media that stay connected with. I mean, it was such a special group of people, and special, at least for me, because we knew that they had our best interest. This is all about, we were their children, and even though some of us they were only a few years older than us, we felt like, like, okay, they were trying their best to show us how to get to where we needed to get to. And I think really showing us that so we can help other people who are coming behind us. So that legacy, it felt like, I don't know whether or not I would be where I am today without having had an inroads experience. I think that's easy to say that.